Okay, in this problem, we got f of x is equal to 6x to the third minus 7x squared plus 1. And the instructions say to use your calculator to graph the polynomial function. Based on graph, find the rational zeros. All real solutions are rational. I'm going to do this by hand first, and then I'm going to go to the graphing calculator because you don't have a calculator to use on the final exam. So knowing how to do it by hand is useful, assuming you can't do it by hand. Okay. Our number at the end is our P. Number at the beginning is our Q. Number at the end is your constant term. The number at the beginning is the number before your x to the largest power. That's called your leading coefficient. We write down all products to give us 1. Well, 1 times 1 is it. So I don't repeat them, so that's just 1. And for Q, 6. 1 times 6 would give it to you. And 2 times 3. Oops, let's try it again. 2 and then 3. And then to handle all the possible sign combinations, we put a plus or minus before each one. Now our possible rational zeros would be taking each value of P and putting it over each value of Q. So I'm going to have 1 over 1. I'm going to have 1 over 2. I'm going to have 1 over 3. And I'll have 1 over 6. 1 over 1's 1. And I got 1 half. And then I got 1/3. And I got 1/6. Okay, so I'm going to plug in each one of these into synthetic division. This is 6, -7. We're missing the x, so I put a 0 and then a 1. You have to know synthetic division before you can do this process. So 6 is number before the x to the third, -7. Keep in mind this is my x to the third. And the x is missing, so we'll put a 0 and then a 1 for the constant term. So we'll add, multiply. 1 times 6 is 6. Add, that's -1. 1 times -1 is -1. Add, -1. Multiply. 1 times -1 is -1. And we get a 0. Boy, that's pretty lucky. Let me double check that. Yeah, sure enough. This 0 here means you found your first answer. So x equals 1 is our first answer. Now this was x to the third. Straight down below it will be x squared. So that's x squared, that's x, and that's no x, our constant term. So we're left with 6x squared minus x minus 1 equals 0. And does this factor? Let's see, minus 1 plus 1. 6x squared minus 3x plus 2x minus 1. Okay, I factor that way. So 0 factor property, you get 0 one side, you factor the other side, you set each factor equal to 0. So I got 3x plus 1 equals 0, 2x minus 1 equals 0. Here I take the 1 over, becomes a -1, divide both sides by 3, and we get -1/3. And on this one, take the -1 over, becomes a +1, divide both sides by 2, and we get x equals 1/2. Okay. Now, if I was doing this on the same problem with the aid of Desmos, my function here, y is equal to 6x to the third minus 7x squared plus 1. Well, if I zoom in, you see it puts points at my my intercepts, which is also my zeros. If you don't see those, that means you have to click the graph. And then if I put my mouse over it, see how it says -0.333? That would indicate that maybe my answer is -1/3. This one would be 0.5, 1/2. And this, can't hardly see it around my big cursor. but it's 1. So if I was doing with the graphing calculator, I'd think that what did I say there? Negative 0.333. And this was 0.5, I think. Yeah, 0.5 and 1. What I would have to do is you never want to work with decimals. So I would propose that negative 1/3 is one of my answers. This I would propose, assuming rounding worked, that that's one of my answers. And this I'd propose x equals 1 is one of my answers. How would I determine this? Plug these into synthetic division. So I'll go back to my original polynomial. And it's a 0 if your remainder is a 0. So I add 6 plus nothing, 6. Multiply negative 1/3 times 6 is negative 6/3 or negative 2. Negative 7, negative 2 is negative 9. Negative 1/3 times negative 9 is a positive 9/3 or 3. Add 0 plus 3 is 3. Negative 1/3 times 3 is negative 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. So yes, indeed, x equals negative 1/3 is one of our answers. We do the same thing for the other two. 1/2. Now you're wondering, well, why don't you just plug it in here? You could, but what we're doing is we're just verifying answers we think we got from technology. So add, and that goes back to our factor theorem. It says this 0 indicates you found a factor or 0. So add, multiply, 1/2 times 6 is 3, negative 7 and 3 is negative 4, 1/2 times negative 4 is negative 2, add, multiply, and notice what we got again. So that tells us indeed that 1/2 is our second answer. And then our last one we think is 1. And I know we verified this over on the right side or the left side already, but I'm doing it again. Add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, and we get another 0. By the factor theorem, that verifies what the graphing calculator showed us.